Station. This is Group 5, in which we will present our topic, environmental crisis. First and foremost, we would like to state that this is for educational use only. Our group is allowing our instructor, Mr. Roldan Ardines, to use this as an educational material. And here are our presenters. I am Decadet Areca Miguelito, Decadet de la Torre Mark Steve, Decadet Manyakap Matthew Alvarez, Decadet de la Serna Nick Braille, Decadet Dalanan Reno Nico, Decadet Rakaza Reynald, Decadet Dagongdong Rodel, Decadet Distora Anjo, and lastly Decadet Lapaza James Anthony. These are the objectives of our topic. The first one is to know what are the origins and the manifestations of global environmental crisis. Secondly, to explain daily encounters of pollution, global warming, desertification, and etc. Lastly, is to examine the policies and programs of governments around the world. These are the key messages. Environmental degradation, which includes deforestation, desertification, pollution, and climate change, is one of humanity's greatest challenges and one that the international community is increasingly concerned about. The International Red Cross and Red Crescent movement is particularly concerned about the humanitarian ramifications of these difficulties because they will have a substantial impact on people it aims to protect and aid. Environmental degradation makes society more vulnerable to disasters and one of the many elements that contribute tensions and violence. Again, sir, this is Decadet Areca Miguelito, and I am here to present my topic about the origins of global environmental crisis. First of all, the global environmental issues refers to the impact of human actions on the climate, particularly the burning of fossil fuels, coal, oil, and gas, and the large-scale deforestation which result in large-scale emissions of greenhouse gases, the most important of which being carbon dioxide. However, in general, its main causes are now acknowledged to be technological developments over the course of humanity history, and particularly since the Industrial Revolution, which have allowed over natural humans to exert a greater influence over natural resources and ecosystems. This explains that during the late 1960s, an environmental crisis took shape as a series of environmental catastrophes and revelatory books transformed the American environmental consciousness. The environmental crisis is the canary in the mine shaft of modern society. Miners in previous generations checked the low quality of air in a mine by lowering a canary in a cage into mine shaft. If the canary came back up alive, the miners would go into the mine. If the canary came back dead, the miners would not proceed, as the mine was dangerous and unsafe. In which is it's the environmental crisis is playing a similar role of people in the modern society. For example, plants and animals are becoming extinct in exponential numbers. The ocean's fisheries are in decline. Water is increasingly polluted, and even the air we breathe, so-called fresh air, is frequently smog, or we should say air contaminated by industrial and agricultural pollutants. Further, in the industrial processes have released toxins upon Earth, which have severely the reproductive capabilities of animals, including the human, are affected. Um, See, for example, the Colborn, the Coolborn in the Domanowski and Myers in 1999. These events are informing us in quite clear terms that the generativity of Earth and the social structures depend upon upon it are in peril. Through the environmental crisis, the Earth is reacting to human behavior, and it is warning us, perhaps beseeching us to respond. The essential question raised by the environmental crisis is no longer whether climate change is happening. It is no longer whether the fisheries, the forests, and the farmland can sustain current levels of exploitation. And it is no longer whether our air and water are polluted. The substantive question asks to what extent the Earth will remain capable of sustaining the modern world as we have to come to know it. That's all. Thank you.
Good day, everyone. I am Mark Stephen De La Torre, and this is my report about the manifestation of global environmental crisis. As a result, a wide range of environmental issues have emerged, including anthropogenic climate change, global warming, stratospheric ozone depletion, ozone hole, acidification of surface water, acid rain, tropical forest destruction, species depletion and extinction, and a precipitous decline in biodiversity, despite the fact that all of these issues have physical environmental manifestations. The cause and potential remedies are inextricably linked to human attitudes, beliefs, values, wants, aspirations, expectations, and behaviors. As a result, the symptoms of the environmental crisis cannot be viewed solely as physical problems requiring solutions by environmental specialists. Rather, they are fundamental human concerns, inextricably linked to the question of what it means to be human. And my explanation about this is it means that after all of those what I've mentioned on my own opinion, hindi naman kasi natin kailangan ng mga espesyalista para lang maging maayos ang ating environment. All we need is the concern of every human here on earth. Dapat talaga binubuksan natin ang ating mga isip, especially on that matter. Since maybe how many years tayo lang din naman ang makikinabang nito. And also for the next generation of our kids, kasi if we have that, dahan-dahan natin maayos ang mga issues kasi they are concerned in the environment and on the earth where they live. Kasi if in one community na papakita ng concern between their community, environment, their neighbors will follow because they will see that it is for the good of the environment and hindi natin alam, di ba? And others will follow what other community do. Some organizations have concern to the environment and they show their concern by doing coastal cleanup and the and also cleaning the community. And that's good also for them and for the people living in the specific community. As a result for this is they encourage the people living in the community to participate and help clean the environment. And for this, climate change won't get worse when the time comes. Thank you. That's all.
So, for today's topic is all about the global environmental crisis, which is the pollution. So, what is the global environmental issues or pollution? So, it is the pollution, the type of mini pollution, which is the air pollution, water pollution, nitrates pollution, and fossil fuel burning, acid rain, oil spill from our sea, industrial waste. So, toxins such as plastic, heavy metals, and nitrates pollute the air, water, soil, and created by variables such as factory emissions. So, factory emission, which is the number one causes of pollution, is the factory. So, it causes air pollution because the ashes of the factory, the coming from the factory, will breathe for the people in the environment. So, that is the one causes of the pollution. And fossil fuel burning, so which is the kanang magsunog tag mga rubber, which is mga guma sa mga ligid. So din siya angay sunugon, dapat ato lang itambak usa para pangitalag paagi, pwede na to i-recycle to para magamit siya, and then to avoid pollution. So air pollution is the high environment threat to our health and food security around the world. So air pollution is it's not good to our health because lagi matumabrate ang bad not good ashes coming from the factory. So it is estimated that it kills 3.7 million people prematurely each year, destroy. So each year enough crops to feed millions of people out there. Air pollution is one today the most serious environmental issue. So mao na issue na to nga na kuan karon na tackle yun. So mao na to lang gitackle nga topic kay issues ni siya karon kay according to the scientists, world is 5 years from now, world is ang Mother Earth marag mag-down na tayo tungod ani mga pollution sa atong environment. So according to WHO research, estimated 4.2 to 7 million people die each year from air pollution. So imagine 4.2 to 7 million people die because the air pollution. So pollution around the world, and 9 out of 10 people breathe air that contains high levels of contaminants. So nagiuban di makasugakod sa mga this kind of disease. So mga cause mo sa disease kay tungod malanghap na to ang ashes gikan sa factory, so which is created a disease to our health. So that's why people die and destroy the lungs of a people. So that's why many people die. Estimated 4.2 to 7 million people all around the world because of the pollution. And that's all. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Decadet de la Serna Nick Bral, and I'm going to report the global environment crisis, so what we call global warming. So, what is global warming? Global warming is long-term heating Earth climate system observed since the pre-industrial period between 1850s and 1900s due to human activities, primarily fossil fuel burning, which increase heat trapping greenhouse gas levels in Earth's atmosphere. So what are the causes of global warming? So much more we know is the causes of global warming are done by human, like coal burning, oil and gas, which produce heat trapping gases. So most of that are caused by humans. So humans do a lot of burning that might destroy our global so further explanation. So we need to avoid much more of the coal burning and coal oil and gas, so that we might protect our Earth through the global warming. So further explanation, through the burning of the the coal, oil and gases, the Arctic is warming, coral reefs are dying, oceans are acidifying, and forests are burning. So we need to protect our environment so that global warming will be prohibited. So that all is caused by humans, which leads to increase in temperature, which leads to rising sea levels, melting polar ice caps, flash floods, and deserts. So environmental degradation, natural disaster is caused by humans. Sometimes we need to protect our world through, so that we can prohibit the global warming. So that's all in my report. Thank you.
Good day, I'm Cadet Delano Naramecro, and today we're going to tackle all about global environmental crisis. Desertification. Desertification has been overlooked by scientists and funding organizations in comparison to other environmental challenges such as global warming or climatic change and the ozone hole. The problem's intricacy, as well as the dry country's poverty and marginalizations, are the reasons. The author proposes a policy-focused definition and emphasizes the distinctions between drought, desiccations, and dryland degradation. So, what is this desertification in the environment? This desertification is defined as land degradation in arid, semi-arid, and dry subamid areas resulting from temporary climatic crisis, especially droughts that occur periodically, and harmful human activities in vulnerable ecosystems. Climatic variations and human activities can be regarded as the two main causes of desertifications. Removal of the natural vegetations covered by taking too much fuel, agricultural activities in the vulnerable ecosystems of arid and semi-arid areas, which are thus strained beyond their capacity. Desertifications affect topsoil, groundwater reserves, surface runoff, humans, animals, and plant populations. Water scarcity in drylands limits the productions of wood, crops, forage, and other services that ecosystems provide to our community. The loss of vegetation's cover and therefore of food for livestock and humans increase the risk of zoonotic disease such as COVID-19, loss of forest cover with a corresponding shortage of wood resources, the decrease of drinking water reserves due to the loss of aquifers. So that's the consequences of desertification. That's all. Thank you.
Hi guys, I'm Decadet Rocaza. I'm here to report the global environmental crisis, ozone depletion. Ozone depletion is a major environmental issue because it increases the amount of ultraviolet radiation reaching the Earth's surface, which causes skin cancer, cataracts, and genetic and immune system damage. Ozone depletion can harm because UV rays can enter the Earth's surface and it can make the person be harmful. It can harm of our health because of this radiation. The ozone layer functions as a natural filter, absorbing the majority of the sun's UV rays. Ozone layer is helpful to us. It is like a shield us from radiation that people didn't preserve. Depletion of stratospheric ozone causes increase in UVB that reaches the Earth's surface, disrupting biological processes and damaging a variety of materials. And depletion is what we call the effect of how our ozone layer become thinner. Depletion can be harmful. Ozone depletion, gradually the thinning of Earth ozone layer is the upper atmosphere caused by the release of chemical compounds containing gaseous chlorine or bromine from industry and other human activities. The thinning is most pronounced in polar regions, especially over Antarctica. This is what we call can also cause climate change because when we become hotter and hotter, the snow and the iceberg of North Pole and Antarctica will also melt and it causes water high and UV rays. That's the UV rays can be harmful. Ozone depletion or the thinning of our Earth. The causes of it is by the cars, smoke of the cars, smoke of the factory, person who smoking, person who also burn plastic every time. Ozone layer is helpful to us. That's why we will preserve and be mindful and knowledgeable on how to preserve our ozone layer by planting more trees, no more no more burning plastics, and must stop the factory that has biggest smoke.
So, good day everyone. Good day, sir. I am Cadet Dongdong. Today, I will going to explain about my topic, global environmental crisis, policies of governments around the world. Internationally agreed goals, principles, or procedures are used to guide choices and activities to address specific environmental challenges. Many environmental problems transcend national borders and can only be solved through international cooperation, which is why international environmental policy is so crucial in these times of expanding globalization. Climate protection, sustainable energy policy, biological variety, preservation, and forest, marine, and soil conservation are all topics covered by international environmental policy. Desertification, sustainable waste management, and hazardous substance protection are other connected subjects. Nearly all of these concerns require overarching plans to guarantee that environmental protection is taken into account in other policies areas, such as development cooperation. So, what is environmental policy and globalization about? International environmental policy is particularly important in times of increasing globalization, for many environmental problems extend beyond national borders and can only be solved through international cooperation. International environmental policies covers a number of issues: climate protection, sustainable energy policy, preservation of biological diversity, and the conservation of forests, seas, and soils. Further related topics are desertification, sustainable waste management, and protections against hazardous substances. Nearly all these issues need overarching strategies to ensure that environmental protection is considered in other policies areas, such as cooperation with developing countries as well. Why is environmental law is important? As you can see from the list above, environmental laws play a huge part in protection humans, animals, resources, and habitats. Without these laws, there would be no regulation concerning pollution, contamination, hunting, or even response to disasters. Environmental law works to protect land, air, water, and soil. Negligence of these laws result in various punishments like fines, community service, and in some extreme cases, jail time. Without these laws, the government would not be able to punish those who treat the environment poorly. After reading the topics, I also learned about the climate protection, sustainable energy policy, biological variety preservation, and the conservation of forests, seas, and soils are all topics covered by international environmental policy. And also, desertification, sustainable waste management, and hazardous substance protection, and also substance protections are other concerns that are related by international environmental policy. And that's all. Thank you.
Good morning, sir. Good morning, classmate. So, before I start, let me introduce myself. So, I'm Dick Cadet Anjo M. Distora. So, I'm going to discuss the global environmental crisis programs of government around the world. First, the environmental problems of the broader goals in reducing negative environmental impacts are supported by the Environmental Management Program. This initiative were created to ensure the federal, state, and the municipal environmental standard were followed. Each program has particular needs that are described in the NIEHS AMS manual, as well as the written plan, process, or structure that corresponded to it. So, in the main, or in other term for the environmental crisis, as they have an unprecedented crisis. So the unprecedented ay di pa nagaganap na crisis. So it's the compelling reason for studying environmental science and management is the fact that in the view of the many leading authorities, we are now experiencing the environmental crisis. Ended, many authors have claimed the present environmental crisis and the unprecedented in the magnitude, peace with the severity, Park 2001. Awareness is the environmental crisis has grown since the 1970s party as a result of the prominence given to the major so-called environmental disasters such as the Sahilayan droughts of the 1970s and 1980s. So, and the nuclear accident of the Chernobyl in 1986 are a major assessment of the global environment, published in 1999. The UNEP, the Global Environment Outlook in the 2000 report, the UNEP to 1999, drew the attention of the two critical recurring themes. So they have the main features of the environmental crisis in our world. So at this point, a very brief overview of the environmental crisis may be helpful. It is important to emphasize the wide range of views about the nature's severity of the current environmental crisis exist, and some of the issues are highly controversial. So nevertheless, there is a broad agreement of the environmental crisis encompasses the following main issues. So there are some related issues from the environmental crisis in our world. So there are some issues associated with the environmental crisis are not strictly environmental, but are closely related to environmental issues. They encompass the range of economic, social, political, and technological issues. That's all.
Good day. I am Deck Cadet James Anthony Lapasa. Global environmental crisis, other programs and policies. The air, water, weather, and climate of the Earth's continents are all linked. Human activities that use natural resources or produce trash have become increasingly interconnected around the world. In transportation, Ethiopia's activities have an impact on and are influenced by those of other countries. Because of international activities in our common global environment, governments all over the world have similar interests that must be addressed through international or global accords on the environment, trade, and business. Agreements of this nature might be reached between countries or through United Nations. Internationally agreed goals, principles, or procedures are used to guide choices and activities to address specific environmental challenges. So, the air, water, weather, and climate of the Earth's continents are all linked. It means that if there's no weather or water, there will be no air and others. Human activities that use natural resources or produce trash have become increasingly interconnected around the world. It means that all we do or all activities that we do have increasingly interconnected around the world. Thanks to advancement in communication and transportation, Ethiopia's activities have an impact on and are influenced by those of other countries. Because of international activities in our common global environment, the government all over the world have similar interests that must be addressed through international. It means that all other countries have same interest with others or other governments. And agreements of this nature might be reached between countries or through United Nations. Internationally agreed goals, principles, or procedures are used to guide choices and activities.